Marvel Studios continues its flair for the continuity in their movie series with Captain America the Winter Soldier. This acts as a sequel to the 2011 standalone film Captain America the First Avenger, as well as the Avengers, which also featured Captain America. If you want to get technical, yeah, it kind of counts as a sequel to all the Marvel Studios movies because this is kind of cool about them. You know, they all connect. So you got to watch them all to get the full effect of the Avengers movies when they all kind of team up, which they have kind of sectioned off into solo movies, into phases as they call them. We're in the second phase now. So yeah, it continues the story, and what's kind of cool is that for this story, since within this cinematic universe, they have established these characters from the Marvel comics, of course. Um, they have this assembly line of established characters they can pick and choose from to bring them into the plot of this movie, which they do. They take full advantage of in this one, which is kind of cool. They have, of course, Captain America, Chris Evans, once again doing a really great job playing the character Captain America. Steve Rogers, really great. Like he's proven really that he has that kind of all American kind of persona about him. You know, the good old boy kind of thing, which is really good. And he does such a good job of it, but still making the character interesting. Like he's likable, he's a good guy, but he's interesting. That's what I like about him. Also, there is Black Widow, Scarlett Johansson from previous films. Um, Nick Fury, Samuel Jackson, Maria Hill, Kobe Smulders. So there's definitely a grander continuity that they're really on the ball with, which is part of the reason why I think people enjoy these movies so much, because it is this larger thing, which is pretty cool. But as a standalone film, I do think it continues, particularly Captain America's story, very well. And I do think it's a better movie than the first one, which is almost unfair to say, only because they're just so different. The first one almost is like kind of like this adventure film, this period piece kind of film, and it works great for what it is. This one is definitely all about the action. This is one of the most action-heavy Marvel movies. That I can really think of off the top of my head. Like, obviously, the Iron Man movies have cool action. The Avengers had so much cool action, but there's always this kind of, I don't know, inkling thought that you have where it's like, okay, but these are superhero movies. Is this really an action movie? Because it's more like kind of like almost like a fantasy adventure kind of thing. This one it has so much action, so many great stunts, practical stunts, but also taking full advantage of uh, amazing CGI and special effects and things like that. This is a very epic film, and it is so cool the way they are able to continue his story, and it is an interesting story. You know, he's uh, this World War II hero, but he's been frozen for all this time, brought back in modern day. He's brought back at the end of the first film. He's sort of adjusting in the Avengers, but obviously with the Avengers, they're not going to devote all the time to his character and how he's adjusting to modern times, because obviously you need to get to the next character, get to the next action scene, things like that. So here they're able to focus on that a little bit more, which is really cool. So I do like what they are able to do with his character in this movie, and kind of it is a very sad situation for this character to be in, but he still has a chip on his shoulder about it. There are some scenes that kind of get pretty close to being melancholy, almost like obviously in the first film his romantic interest is Peggy, who between him being frozen and present day, was one of the founding members of the Shield organization. Of course, Shield, very important part of the mythos of this film series. Basically, she's still alive. She has dementia though, and he sees her. I don't know if she's in a private hospital. I can't really remember, or at her home. But there's some scenes where we're getting hints that okay, she has Alzheimer's or some kind of dementia that's affecting her memory. So she's not really sure. She knows it's Steve there, but sometimes she forgets where she is, when she is. But they shy away from that just a little bit too early, sort of, just to not make this a melancholy kind of movie, because that's not what it's about. Like, they literally cut to the chase for the action after that scene. But it is kind of important that they show that, and they show him, of course, going to the Smithsonian, seeing his exhibit, kind of reliving the glory days and missing that. So I do think he's an interesting character where he feels kind of out of place. But is he the only person who is in that particular predicament? No, because there is the Winter Soldier, of course, who, I mean, in case you've been under a rock, is Bucky Barnes, Sebastian Stan from the first movie, who was, I guess, kidnapped, for lack of a better word, by Hydra, the anti-Shield organization, and using kind of the same serum, making a super soldier out of him. So here we find that this evil villain who is bent on destroying Shield, destroying Captain America, turns out to be his old buddy from the old days. So they're on opposite sides of this war, basically, this kind of war. But they're the two most, in sync people. They're the two people who kind of are in both the same boat without even realizing it. So one is good, one is evil, and it all leads up to the face off. So I think they do a good job of leading up to all that, because that's kind of what you want to see. Because the movie's titled The Winter Soldier, so you want to see that cool, standoff. But in between, you get or before all that, preceding that, leading up to it, it goes to simmer, 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 boil, boil, boil. Such a great action movie, kind of, sort of taking, almost like sensibilities from kind of like, sort of like Paranoid era 70s kind of thrillers where you can't trust the government, everything is a sham, everything is a lie, and they have Robert Redford, which is kind of cool, because like Deep Throat, All the President's Men, so he's playing kind of a counter version of his known type of character, which is always kind of the reliable truth teller. Now is not the case. Now he does play kind of a seedy villain. There will be spoilers in this review in case you haven't noticed. Leading up to all that is great, and putting little hints of in the action scenes even. Steve Rogers' development as a character, and even like the beginning scene where it's like him and Black Widow, they're on their mission to supposedly rescue hostages, but there's some data that needs to be recovered actually, and kind of in between the action scenes, Scarlett Johansson is Black Widow's kind of like talking about his love life. So, oh, why don't you date this girl? She seems nice, blah blah. It's kind of cool. So he's trying to find his place in the world, and aside from kind of the yin to his yang, which is the Winter Soldier character, because that's almost like the evil version of him. Even though there is good in that character, there's probably a little bad in Steve Rogers too, but he won't show it because he's just too much of a good old boy. But the relationship between him and Black Widow, Natasha. I thought they played that really well. Like, again, they have this whole assembly of characters that they can choose from, and that they chose her, I think, speaks a lot of the chemistry between the characters, and how they really do develop this kind of sweet friendship in the movie, which I really like. So they're able to do all that amidst these amazing action scenes, and also, of course, bring in new characters. The Anthony Mackie character, he was great in the movie. He has the really tough job of, okay, I wasn't in the Avengers, you're just introducing me, I gotta prove my worth, and I think he does a great job. Also, there's just all the kind of stuff that you'd expect from these kind of movies, little, sideaway lines referencing other movies, other characters, things like that. So I think that they do a great job. And I'm jumping forward a little bit here, but probably my favorite part of the movie, Nick Fury, he fakes his own death in this movie, and on his gravestone is a line from Pulp Fiction. So there's kind of cool stuff like that. It's a cool and fun movie. So while there is kind of serious elements to the plot, where yes, Steve Rogers is fish out of water, he's kind of like the lonely man in a modern world or whatever, and there's this evil character bent on destroying everything and really fucking shit up. Like the things that Hydra does in the movie, uh, like shooting the shit out of Nick Fury's car and leaving him for dead, basically. That's harsh shit. But the thing is, like the movie, it doesn't get to a dark place because they know that this is not the Dark Knight or something like that. It's not super serious, so they have to find kind of that comic booky balance because it is kind of a comic booky movie because it is based on a comic book, obviously. So I do think they do a good job in balancing kind of what we older fans want to see, which is good character development. Honestly, even the least discriminating of moviegoers is going to recognize if we've had a good plot with good characters or not. It's not all just about action. The action scenes really are the icing on the cake, and I think this movie really does draw a line in the sand when it comes to superheroes and being action movies. Like, no one will bat an eye if you tell them, oh, my favorite action movie is, Die Hard or Terminator 2, whatever, anything like that. But if you say, like, The Avengers or something, like, really? That's not a real action movie. This movie has real action, real cool shit in this movie. I guess maybe, it has the perfect blend of the physical stuff, like, you know, uh, there's real kind of gunplay. It's not like lasers or anything like that, like what was kind of in the first movie, sort of. Real motorcycle stunts, which are really cool. But then there's the CGI stuff. You have, all the helicarrier attacks going on and things like that. And I thought that was really good. So they were able to find a really good blend of those two things. And overall, I mean, I think it is one of the best movies that they were able to put out. I'd probably put it under the first Iron Man and the Avengers, but I think it's a really terrific movie. Lots of great action, but yeah, there is good character elements to it. So I think they are able to bring something for people who want a little bit more than just action after action. The cool kind of thing about these kinds of movies, how they're catering to this whole new generation of moviegoers. Now more than ever, these kinds of movies, they are being seen by both adults and kids, and they're enjoying them equally, and I think that's pretty cool. So I think we're still in kind of probably sort of an era that was kind of instigated by Bryan Singer's X-Men film. And then, of course, picked up with Raimi with his Spider-Man films. The first two. There wasn't a third one. I don't know. I don't know why they didn't make a third one, but there's no third Spider-Man movie. And of course, Christopher Nolan's Dark Knight movies, the Dark Knight trilogy, kind of ushered in this new era, which I think we're still in. There are some, falters in these steps. Like, not all of these have been great, particularly with Phase 2. Before this one, the last one I watched was the second Thor movie. I didn't think it was that good. I don't know. Something about it didn't rub me the right way. I didn't have the heart to review it because it was just such a bland movie, which I didn't enjoy. Also, wasn't a huge fan of Iron Man 3. Now, I know a lot of people love that movie, but I don't know. I had a lot of problems with it. And what's kind of cool is that the plot to this, The Winter Soldier, it is actually very similar to the plot of Iron Man 3 when you think about it. It's the character on the run, his resources are gone, he's in trouble, running around, has to, try and find his friends and, meet people along the way, going on this kind of desperate journey and at the same time finding things out about himself. So they're very similar, like in a very, very, stripped to the core kind of way. They do have two similar stories, which is actually kind of interesting that these two characters, which were kind of like the two like head guys of the Avengers, basically, kind of like batting heads over who's leading who. So it is interesting that after their experiences there, they're both pitted into these kinds of circumstances and how differently those characters, you know, respond to the circumstances. So that's kind of cool. But I think in terms of actual plot, of actual execution of the movie, Winter Soldier does it so much better than Iron Man 3 could have done. But still, I mean, just because it has that grander continuity, either way, you're going to see the movies, whether they're good or bad. At least for right now. Who knows? they'll probably reach a point where people won't want to see them as much anymore, or maybe not. Maybe they'll just keep on going. But it's an interesting, overall continuity that they have going. They have all these plates spinning. Eventually, they're going to crash and fall unless they kind of do the unthinkable, where they just like the comics. They keep the movies going. Maybe get different actors for the characters. They get different artists for the comics. Why not just keep it going and going and going and going for like decades? No more reboots. Just keep it going. That'd be really awesome. Hopefully they have kind of the balls to do that. That'd be actually kind of cool if they were able to achieve that. But anyway, Captain America, the Winter Soldier. I think it's a damn fantastic movie. Such great action, great acting from everyone involved. I'd rate it 3.5 stars out of 4. This is a fantastic film with lots of great action and the characters that we've come to love being shown in different ways and developing in very interesting ways as well. So I think it's worth seeing if you haven't already, if you're like one of the 2 people who haven't seen it. But definitely, now it's on video. Check it out. Very awesome movie, and that's really all I have to say about that. So thank you very much for watching my little review here. As always, comment, rate, subscribe, all that good stuff. Follow me on social media at HiThisIsDerek on Twitter, Derek237.tumblr.com, Derek237 on Instagram, all that good stuff. So, yeah. Anyway, thanks for watching. See you later.